Hu Tao, you seem to be quite knowledgeable about solving problems. I've been curious about this skill they call troubleshooting. How important is it, really?
Oh, hey, it's crucial. Imagine you have a finely tuned music box, and suddenly it's not playing anymore. Troubleshooting is like finding out why it stopped and fixing it so you can enjoy the melody again.
That does sound important. Is it something that people are just naturally good at, or can anyone learn it?
That's a great question. Many people think it's an innate talent, but believe me, it's a skill that anyone can learn and teach. It's all about understanding the problem and finding a method to solve it.
Interesting. So what does one need to become effective at troubleshooting?
Well, it's a mix of general troubleshooting skills and specific knowledge about the system you're dealing with. You need both to get to the root of any problem.
Specific knowledge, could you elaborate on that?
Of course, you see each system has its own quirks and functionalities. Knowing these inside out means you're better prepared to spot when something isn't working right.
So is there a general approach or methodology you could use when you're faced with a problem?
Absolutely. It often starts with making observations about the system. You look for clues in its behavior, figure out what's not right, and then hypothesize about why it might be acting that way.
Sounds like a strategic puzzle. Does this require a lot of patience?
Oh, a ton of it. You try things, see what works, what doesn't, and you just keep tweaking till you get it right. It's trial and error.
But what if you don't know much about the system to start with?
That's where learning as you go comes in handy. With every issue, you learn more about the system, and over time you're bound to get better at solving problems with it.
I see. What are the advantages of mastering this skill?
For one, you become indispensable in maintaining system reliability. No hiccup can throw you off for too long, plus it makes you a resourceful thinker.
I like that. Does troubleshooting help solve only technical problems?
Not at all, it's a mindset you can use anywhere. Dealing with unexpected obstacles in daily life or even crafting delightful poetry, it's all patterns and resolutions.
I might have to apply this in my meditation practices. And what about teaching it? Is that widely done?
Teaching? Oh yeah, especially in fields like site reliability engineering where maintaining distributed systems is key. When taught well, it empowers entire teams.
That's fascinating. How do you begin teaching someone to troubleshoot effectively?
You start with the basics, a framework of steps like observing, hypothesizing, testing, and concluding. Then you dive into the specifics through real-world problems.
A structured approach is important then. What else would you say is key to teaching this skill?
Patience and understanding that failure is part of the process. Encouraging learners to not be afraid of mistakes makes all the difference.
Mistakes as learning tools? Interesting perspective.
Yeah, think of it as stumbling upon the wrong tune, only to discover a new melody you'd never have imagined.
Well put, Hu Tao. And this process of learning troubleshooting continues indefinitely, doesn't it?
Exactly, systems evolve, new problems arise, so there's always something fresh to learn. It's the ever-expanding garden of knowledge.
I am intrigued. How does one grow that garden within oneself?
By nurturing curiosity. Always ask questions, explore, and remain open to learning from every situation. It's a path of endless growth.
A refreshing outlook indeed. I am eager to see how I can incorporate this into my duties.
You'll do great, Ei. With your precision and mind for detail, you'll be solving mysteries in no time.
Thank you, Hu Tao. I look forward to putting these concepts into practice and learning alongside you.
We can even swap stories of the troubles we've triumphed over. Sharing knowledge is one of the best ways to learn.
Hu Tao, you've piqued my interest about this troubleshooting process. Could you tell me more about how it begins?
Certainly. It starts by recognizing that something isn't right with the system. We get clues from things like performance drops or error messages that something's amiss.
I see. And from there, what's the first step to take in this process?
The first step is to observe, note down what's happening. This is akin to gathering all the jigsaw pieces before assembling the picture.
That sounds quite methodical. What comes next after gathering observations?
We form hypotheses, which are educated guesses about what might be causing the problem. Think of them as potential scenarios to test.
Like creating theories based on the clues we collect. How do we test these hypotheses?
We test by either seeing if the current evidence supports our ideas, or by making controlled changes to the system and watching what happens.
Controlled changes, is that not risky?
A bit, but it's all about handling them cautiously, like a chef adjusting spices. It helps us refine our understanding of what's happening.
So it's like an experiment where the system is the subject. What if the first tests don't yield results?
Well, we iteratively test different hypotheses. It might take a few tries, but each test brings us closer to the root cause.
This process does sound intricate. What helps to guide these tests effectively?
Knowledge of the system is crucial. It helps us predict how it should behave and what might be plausible causes for its malfunctions.
Does this mean that having detailed system knowledge is a safeguard against failure?
Exactly. It's like knowing an instrument inside out. You can quickly tune it when it's off-key.
Fascinating. How does one ensure their hypotheses are valid and not misled by assumptions?
By being open-minded and paying attention to evidence that contradicts our assumptions. It's important to adapt and refine as needed.
It sounds like a balance of intuition and logic. Is there a moment when you know you're on the right track?
Yes, definitely. When tests finally converge on the root cause, it's like that aha moment where everything clicks into place.
I can imagine the satisfaction of reaching that breakthrough. What happens once the root cause is found?
Then we take corrective actions to fix the problem and ensure it doesn't reoccur. It's like patching a hole in a ship before setting sail again.
This approach seems very systematic. Are there other benefits to this method of troubleshooting?
It also improves our overall understanding of the system, makes us more adept at preventing future issues, and contributes to better system design.
I am impressed by how structured this process is. Does it remain the same for every problem?
Not quite. Each system and its issues are unique, so while the steps are a guideline, they need adapting to each individual scenario.
Are there any particular skills or qualities that help in refining one's troubleshooting methods?
Curiosity, persistence, and a willingness to learn from each test. Each mistake is a lesson, and each success a stepping stone.
A mindset akin to honing a craft. How does one deal with the frustration of a complex problem?
Patience is key. Keeping a clear mind and breaking the problem into smaller parts can help manage the complexity.
And perhaps a strong team plays a role in tackling challenging issues.
Absolutely. Collaboration brings diverse perspectives that can illuminate different angles of a problem.
I shall remember to approach challenges systematically and to value the learning process involved.
That's the spirit. Troubleshooting is as much about the journey as it is about the destination.
I'm eager to apply this discipline to other facets of my work here in Inazuma.
You'll do wonderfully, I'm sure. It's all about perspective and the thirst for understanding.
Thank you, Hu Tao. This has been enlightening. I look forward to delving deeper into the art of problem solving.
It's my pleasure. Every solved puzzle enriches the mind. Let's continue to learn and grow together.
Indeed. Let's tackle these challenges one step at a time with diligence and creativity. Hu Tao, earlier you mentioned some pitfalls in troubleshooting. Could you tell me more about these common mistakes people make?
The art of skipping over hurdles. Troubleshooting isn't always smooth sailing. Sometimes folks misunderstand system metrics or see what they expect to see, not what's truly there.
Misunderstanding metrics, how so?
Well, it's easy to chase after irrelevant symptoms. Imagine your alarm clock ringing every hour, but the issue lies in a faulty wiring rather than noise. Metrics can mislead if you don't know what to interpret.
So paying attention to the right signs is critical. What else can go wrong?
Confirmation bias is a big one. It's like looking for clues to confirm your favored theory, instead of seeing the broader picture.
The trap of laser focus. Any logical fallacies we should watch out for?
Certainly, there are times when people latch on to past problems, thinking because it happened once it must be happening again. It's using old maps for new territories.
Such pitfalls sound like obstacles in our reasoning. How can one avoid these errors?
It's important to have thorough knowledge of your system. Like a musician knows their instrument, system understanding helps distinguish what's relevant from what's not.
That makes sense. And for reasoning mistakes?
You need to ask the right questions and prefer simpler explanations. Think of horses, not zebras, when you hear hoofbeats.
A methodical approach then. But what if the correlation isn't the cause?
Ah yes, correlation isn't causation. Just because two things happen together doesn't mean one causes the other. It might just be pure coincidence.
I suppose it could lead to many wild goose chases, as you put it? Anything else that commonly trips people up?
People sometimes mismanage system changes. Adjustments should be safe and effective, not based on improbable guesses.
Misdirection due to unlikely theories sounds frustrating. How do you encourage proper reasoning?
By emphasizing systematic testing and verification. Think of it as experimenting to find out the truth, rather than relying on gut feelings.
Yes, logical and methodical. It strikes me that self-awareness is equally crucial.
Correct. Being aware of your biases makes it easier to steer clear of these traps, like avoiding nettles on a nature walk.
That is practical wisdom, Hu Tao. Are these principles applicable only to technical troubles?
They can be used everywhere, in anything that requires problem solving. Whether in systems or life choices, it's the same sharp lens.
An adaptable method, then. What's one piece of advice to stay grounded and avoid these pitfalls?
Keep learning and always question your assumptions. A new perspective can illuminate hidden aspects, just like a lantern in foggy woods.
Thank you, Hu Tao. I'm learning that an open mind and keen observation are allies against these challenges.
Indeed, they are. As long as you stay curious and embrace discovery, you'll navigate through these pitfalls expertly.
I see the value in this approach. Do you think seasoned troubleshooters still fall prey to these pitfalls?
Even the best among us can make mistakes. But experience teaches you to recognize and correct them faster over time.
Experience seems to be the best teacher. Are there techniques to speed up gaining such experience?
Practicing deliberately, documenting every step, and learning from peers. These shape your instincts and refine your craft.
Then perhaps sharing insights is just as important as gaining them. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Collective knowledge amplifies personal growth. Sharing and learning are two sides of the same coin.
I will embrace those aspects, Hu Tao. It will surely enhance my contributions to Inazuma.
You've got the spark for it, Just remember, every pitfall is but a stepping stone to becoming a better problem solver.
Wise words. I have much to reflect upon and apply. Thank you for your enlightening guidance.
Anytime, I will unravel more mysteries together and keep each other sharp. Adventure awaits in the little things.
Hu Tao, can you tell me about these effective troubleshooting practices you mentioned earlier? They seem quite crucial.
Absolutely, It's all about being methodical from the get-go. It starts with a detailed problem report, like telling a detective every clue you found.
A detailed problem report, you say? What should it include?
A good report covers what the system should do, what it's actually doing, and steps to reproduce the issue if possible. It's our mystery novel plot.
I see, so clarity and thoroughness are key. What comes next in the process?
Next, we perform triage, which is like emergency room doctors deciding who needs attention first. We prioritize based on the issue's severity and impact.
That sounds essential for handling multiple problems efficiently. How do we prioritize effectively?
Think of it as deciding whether someone needs a Band-Aid or an immediate operation. Assess the urgency and the impact of each issue carefully.
And what tools do you use to capture system behavior during this process?
Monitoring systems are our trusty eyes and ears. They keep track of metrics and logs, looking out for anything unusual.
So monitoring can signal when something goes off track. How do you use these signals?
We analyze them to understand what each component of the system is doing. It's like examining footprints to figure out which path was taken.
And if those footprints are hard to decipher?
That's when examining logs comes in. They provide a detailed narrative of the system's day-to-day adventures. essential for understanding the full picture.
What if initial logs don't suffice? How thorough should one be?
Very thorough. Sometimes we need to get into specifics, like turning the camera focus on logs to capture each detail.
Sounds intricate. How do these practices adapt over time?
Continuous learning gives us better insights and refines our approach. Documenting everything, even failures, adds to our treasure trove of experience.
Failures? You mean those are valuable too?
Yes, exactly. Negative results tell us what not to try again, and they teach us what doesn't work so we don't repeat errors.
Like learning from someone else's missteps? That has immense value, indeed.
Exactly. Imagine learning not to step on a wet floor because everyone slipped there. Experience without the pain.
And this process continues indefinitely, doesn't it?
Yes, each problem is a new lesson. Systems evolve and so should our methods. It's an endless dance of learning.
A dance, you say? How poetic. Troubleshooting does sound more engaging now.
It can be quite the performance, and with every step you get a bit better, a bit faster.
I appreciate this perspective. What about troubleshooting as a shared effort?
Teamwork brings diverse viewpoints to the table. Sharing insights amplifies understanding and sparks quicker resolutions.
A collective approach, then. How about adapting practices to new challenges?
Adaptation is key. As systems change, so must our methods. We tweak our approach with every new lesson learned.
So a rigid stance wouldn't work. It requires flexibility and creativity.
Exactly, like bending with the wind instead of breaking. Stay nimble, stay curious.
I'll embrace this flexibility in my duties as well. Thank you, Hu Tao.
Anytime. Together, we'll crack codes and solve mysteries galore.
I look forward to this journey, Hu Tao, one where each problem solved is a step forward in growth.
Indeed it is. Onward to more adventures and discoveries with a toolbox full of strategies.
I'm ready. To a future filled with clarity and understanding.
Cheers to that, May our paths be illuminated by knowledge and enthusiasm.